Captain Jake Morrison stared at the display screen in front of him. The red warning lights flashed across his ship's bridge. His crew was quiet, waiting for his orders. The UES Horizon had been on patrol for 3 weeks now, checking the empty space near the galaxy's edge. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Lieutenant Amy Chen from her station. She was the ship's communications officer, and she looked worried. "Multiple ships about 2 million kilometers away. They're sending out distress signals." Morrison walked over to her station. "What kind of ships?" "Unknown design, sir. The signals are weak, but I can tell they're in trouble. Life support systems are failing." Commander Lisa Brooks, Morrison's second-in-command, joined them at the communications station. She had served with Morrison for 5 years, and he trusted her judgment completely. "Could be a trap, Captain. Pirates sometimes use fake distress calls to lure ships in." Morrison nodded. Pirates were a real problem in this part of space, but something about this felt different. "Put the signals on speaker, Amy." The bridge filled with strange sounds. It wasn't human language, but the desperation in the voices was clear. Morrison had heard that kind of fear before during his years in the Space Navy. These weren't pirates. These were people in real trouble. "How many ships?" Morrison asked. 17, sir. Some of them are barely showing up on our sensors. I think they're losing power." Morrison looked at the tactical display. The unknown ships were drifting, not moving in any organized pattern. If this was an attack, it was the strangest one he had ever seen. "Lisa, what do you think?" Brooks studied the readings. "Their weapons are powered down, Captain. Actually, most of their systems are powered down. These ships are dying." Morrison made his decision. "Set course for those ships, full speed." "Sir, shouldn't we call for backup first?" asked Ensign Robert Hayes from the navigation station. He was young, fresh out of the academy, and still nervous about making mistakes. "No time," Morrison said. "If their life support is failing, they might not have long." The Horizon moved toward the unknown fleet. As they got closer, the alien ships became clearer on the view screen. Morrison had never seen anything like them. The ships looked like they were made of crystal or glass. They were beautiful, but they were also clearly damaged. Some had cracks running along their hulls. Others were barely glowing with internal light. "I'm getting better readings now," Amy said. "There are life forms on board those ships. Definitely not human, but they're alive." "Can you translate their language?" "Working on it, sir. The computer is trying to find patterns." Amy worked at her console for several minutes. "Got something, Captain. It's not perfect, but I think I can make out some basic words." The alien voices became clearer through the translation program. Morrison could hear panic, sadness, and desperation. Words like help, dying, and nowhere to go came through clearly. "Captain, I'm detecting radiation from their ships," said Dr. Kevin Phillips from the science station. "Not dangerous to us at this distance, but their shielding is failing." Morrison felt a chill. Ships losing radiation shielding in deep space was a death sentence. "How long do they have?" "Maybe hours, sir. Days at most." "Open a channel to the lead ship," Morrison ordered. Amy worked at her station. "Channel open, sir." Morrison took a deep breath. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth ship Horizon. We received your distress signal. Do you need assistance?" For a long moment there was silence. Then a voice came through the speakers. The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear. "Human ship, we are grateful for your response. We are the Zephyrian people. We are cast out, rejected. We seek only passage to empty space where we may die with honor." Morrison exchanged glances with Brooks. "Cast out by whom?" "The Galactic Council has declared us unfit for civilized space. We have been given time to leave all settled systems. We go now to the void." Brooks leaned close to Morrison. "Captain, the Galactic Council controls most of the inhabited galaxy. If they've exiled these people, we could be getting involved in galactic politics," Morrison finished. "I know." He thought for a moment. The smart thing would be to offer them basic supplies and send them on their way. Earth was still new to galactic politics, and making enemies of the major powers could be dangerous. But these people were dying. Zephyrian vessel, why were you exiled? Another pause. We are what your language might call impure. Our bodies contain living organisms that are part of us. The Council's new laws forbid such existence. They say we contaminate space itself by our presence. Morrison felt anger rising in his chest. Exiled for biology they couldn't control? It reminded him of the worst parts of human history. How many of you are there? 12,000 souls across our fleet, including 3,000 young ones. 3,000 children. Morrison's decision was made. Zephyrian vessels, I am offering you sanctuary in human space. You are welcome to come with us. The bridge went quiet. Morrison could feel his crew staring at him. This was not a small decision. He was inviting 12,000 aliens to human territory without permission from Earth government. Captain, Brooks said quietly, we should probably contact Earth Command first. No time, Morrison replied. Look at their power readings. Half their fleet won't survive another day. The alien voice came back full of surprise. Human captain, you would offer sanctuary to the rejected ones. Your species would risk the Council's anger. Morrison thought about Earth's history. They had learned hard lessons about what happened when good people did nothing while others suffered. That's what we do. We don't turn away people in need. We have nothing to offer in return. We are outcasts with no home. You don't need to offer anything. You need help, and we can give it. There was a long silence. Morrison could imagine the discussions happening on the alien ships. Finally, the voice returned, and this time Morrison could hear emotion even through the translation. Captain Morrison of Earth, we accept your offer. We place our lives in your hands. Amy, contact Earth Command. Tell them we're bringing refugees home. What should I tell them about the political situation, sir? Morrison looked at the alien ships on his screen. They were beautiful and damaged and full of families who just wanted to live. Tell them we found people who needed help, and we helped them. Let the politicians figure out the rest. Brooks smiled. The Council isn't going to like this. Then they should have thought about that before exiling children for crimes they didn't commit, Morrison said. He turned to Hayes at navigation. Plot a course for Earth, and contact the other human ships in this sector. We're going to need escorts for our new friends. As the Horizon began leading the Zephyrian fleet toward human space, Morrison watched the alien ships on his screen. Their crystal hulls were starting to glow a little brighter as hope replaced despair. He didn't know what problems this decision might cause for Earth, but he knew it was the right thing to do. In the depths of space, humanity had just taken its first step toward changing the galaxy forever. They just didn't know it yet. 3 months had passed since Captain Jake Morrison brought the Zephyrian refugees to human space. Dr. Kevin Phillips stood on the observation deck of New Haven Colony, watching the sunrise paint the sky in brilliant colors. The colony had been built quickly on a planet that Earth scientists had prepared for human settlement. Now it housed both humans and Zephyrians together. Phillips was the colony's chief administrator, a job he never expected to have. He had been a simple researcher scientist before the refugees arrived. Now he was responsible for making sure 12,000 aliens and 3,000 humans could live together peacefully. Through the large windows, he could see the colony's main plaza. Zephyrian children were playing with human children, their skin glowing soft blue and purple in the morning light. The Zephyrians changed colors based on their emotions, something that had frightened some humans at first. Now the human children thought it was wonderful and tried to copy the color changes with colored lights and paint. Dr. Phillips, we have another situation in Section 7, said his assistant, Maria Santos. She was a young woman who had volunteered to help with the refugee crisis. Her job was supposed to be temporary, but she had stayed to help with the growing challenges. What kind of situation? Phillips asked, though he could guess. There had been many small problems as two very different Species learned to live together. The Hendersons are complaining about their Zephyrian neighbors again. They say the smell is too strong. Philip sighed. The Zephyrians communicated partly through scent. When they were happy or excited, they released chemicals that other Zephyrians could smell. Most humans couldn't detect these scents, but some could. The Henderson family was very sensitive to smells. Have you talked to Commander Torres about it? She's on her way to meet with both families now. Commander Angela Torres was in charge of colony security. She had become an expert at solving problems between species. It wasn't easy work, but she was patient and fair with everyone. Phillips walked through the colony's corridors toward Section 7. The walls were decorated with art from both cultures. Human paintings hung next to Zephyrian crystal sculptures that captured light in amazing ways. Children from both species had drawn pictures together, creating strange and beautiful combinations of human and alien art. He found Torres in the Henderson family's apartment. The family was gathered around their kitchen table, looking upset. Mr. Henderson was a thin man who worked in the colony's power plant. His wife, Sarah, was a teacher in the human school. Their 2 children, ages 8 and 10, sat quietly while their parents talked. "I'm not trying to be mean," Mr. Henderson was saying to Torres, "but sometimes the smell gets so strong we can't sleep. Our kids are getting headaches." Torres nodded patiently. She had dealt with this problem before. "I understand your concern, Mr. Henderson. Let me talk to the Theis family next door." The Theis family lived in the apartment next to the Hendersons. Elder Theis was one of the Zephyrian leaders who had spoken with Captain Morrison during the rescue. She had become a respected member of the Colony Council. Her family included her mate and 3 young Zephyrians. Phillips followed Torres to the Theis apartment. The door was made of a material that looked like colored glass but was much stronger. Elder Theis opened it when they knocked. Her skin was currently a calm green color, but Phillips could see worry in her large, dark eyes. "Commander Torres, Dr. Phillips, welcome to our home," Elder Theis said in her careful English. The Zephyrians were quick learners and most spoke human languages well now. "We need to discuss the scent issue with your neighbors," Torres said gently. Elder Theis's skin shifted to a sad blue color. "We have tried to control our emotional releases, but it is difficult. When my younglings play and become happy, the scents happen naturally. We cannot stop breathing." Phillips felt sorry for both families. Neither side was being unreasonable. "Maybe we can find a technical solution," he suggested. "Better air filtration systems, or maybe different housing arrangements." "We do not wish to be separated from human neighbors," Elder Theis said quickly. "Our younglings learn much from human children, and human parents have taught us many things about child rearing." This was true. The 2 species had learned a lot from each other. Human doctors had studied Zephyrian biology and discovered that their symbiotic organisms could help fight certain diseases. Zephyrian scientists had shared knowledge about crystal technology that was helping human engineers build better computers. "What if we installed special air recycling units?" Torres suggested. "Something that could filter the scents without stopping the families from living near each other." Phillips nodded. "I'll talk to the engineering team. We might be able to modify the existing air systems." As they left the apartment building, Phillips saw more examples of the 2 cultures mixing. A group of human teenagers was learning to play, a Zephyrian game that involved creating light patterns with crystal pieces. Nearby, Zephyrian adults were watching human workers build a new section of the colony, asking questions about human construction methods. Dr. Maria Santos met them at the colony's central administration building. She looked excited about something. "Dr. Phillips, you need to see this report from Dr. Wilson at the medical center." Phillips read the report quickly. Dr. Wilson had been studying the Zephyrian symbiotic organisms with their permission. The organisms were tiny living things that lived inside Zephyrian bodies and helped them stay healthy. The report showed that these organisms could be used to create new medicines for humans. "This is incredible," Phillips said. "These organisms could help us fight diseases that have troubled humans for centuries." "The Zephyrians want to share this knowledge freely," Santos said. "Elder Theis says it's their way of thanking humans for giving them a home." Phillips felt proud of what they were building on New Haven, but he also knew that not everyone was happy about the refugee situation. There had been protests on Earth. Some human politicians were saying that helping aliens would bring trouble from the Galactic Council. His communication device beeped with an incoming message from Earth. It was from President Carol Martinez herself. Phillips felt nervous as he opened the message. "Dr. Phillips, I need to speak with you immediately. The Galactic Council has contacted Earth. They're demanding the return of the Zephyrian refugees." Phillips's heart sank. He had been expecting this, but he had hoped it would take longer. "What did you tell them, Madam President?" "I told them I would consider their request. But between you and me, we're not giving up these people. They've done nothing wrong except exist." Phillips felt relief. "What do you need from me?" "I need you to document everything good that's come from this partnership. Medical advances, technology sharing, cultural benefits, everything. I'm going to address the United Nations next week, and I want to show them why this was the right decision." After the call ended, Phillips looked out at the colony again. Human and Zephyrian families were gathering in the plaza for the evening meal they shared together every day. The children were playing while adults talked and laughed together. It wasn't perfect, but it was working. Santos approached him with another report. "Dr. Phillips, the agricultural team has some interesting news. The Zephyrians have been teaching our farmers about soil organisms. Our crop yields are up 30%. Phillips smiled. Every day brought new proof that helping the refugees had been right. The Zephyrians weren't just guests in human space. They were becoming partners, friends, and neighbors. Whatever challenges came from the Galactic Council, Phillips knew that humanity had gained something precious. As night fell over New Haven Colony, the Zephyrian buildings began to glow softly, with bioluminescent light. Human children pressed their faces against windows to watch the beautiful display. In just 3 months, the impossible had become normal. 2 species from different worlds had learned to live together. Phillips knew that bigger challenges were coming, but looking at the peaceful colony, he felt confident they could face anything together. Admiral Steve Parker stood in the command center of Earth's biggest space station, watching dozens of ships approach through the viewing screens. 6 months ago, he had been a simple fleet commander. Now he was in charge of the most unusual job in human history, managing alien refugees from across the galaxy. The news about humanity helping the Zephyrians had spread through space faster than anyone expected. Species that had been rejected, exiled, or persecuted by the Galactic Council were now coming to human space, hoping for the same welcome the Zephyrians had received. "Admiral, we have another group requesting permission to enter our space," said Lieutenant Carol Williams from the communication station. "They call themselves the Zenhai. Their leader wants to speak with you." Parker nodded. "Put them on screen." The face that appeared was unlike anything Parker had seen before. The Zenhai looked like giant insects, with multiple eyes and mouth, parts that clicked when they spoke. Their translator made their voice sound mechanical. "Human leader, we are the Zenhai. We have traveled far to reach your territory. We seek what you gave the Crystal people. Safety." "Why were you exiled?" Parker asked. He had learned to ask this question first. Each refugee group had a different story. "We are warriors by nature. The Council says we are too violent for civilized space. They fear us because we do not submit easily to their control, but we do not wish to fight. We wish only to live in peace." Parker studied the insect-like alien on his screen. The Zenhai did look frightening, but so had the Zephyrians when humans first met them. "How many ships do you have?" 23 vessels. 8,000 of our people. We have been traveling for many weeks. Our food supplies are running low." Parker made his decision the same way Morrison had months earlier. These were people in need, regardless of what they looked like. "You're welcome in human space. We'll guide you to a processing station where we can help you." The Zenhai leader's mandibles clicked in what Parker hoped was gratitude. "You show great courage, human admiral. The Council will not be pleased." "Let me worry about the Council," Parker said. After ending the transmission, Parker turned to his staff. Major Lisa Chen, his operations officer, looked concerned. Admiral, that makes 4 different species we're taking in. Earth Command is getting nervous about the numbers. Parker understood their concern. The Zephyrians had been followed by the Ethereals, a species of energy beings who had been exiled for their pacifist beliefs. Then came the Morphics, shapeshifters who were considered unnatural by many galactic religions. Now the Zenhai brought the total to nearly 40,000 refugees. How are the colonies handling the new arrivals? Parker asked. New Haven is at capacity, reported Dr. Jane Roberts, the refugee coordinator. We've established 2 new colonies on nearby planets. Integration is going well, though we're learning that each species has different needs. This was true. The Ethereals needed special energy sources to survive. The Morphics required privacy spaces where they could change shapes without frightening other species. Each group brought new challenges but also new opportunities. What about the benefits report for Earth Command? Parker asked. Dr. Roberts smiled. That's the good news, Admiral. Each species has contributed something valuable. The Ethereals have shared energy technology that could revolutionize our power systems. The Morphics understand genetics in ways that are helping our medical research. And the Zenhai have military knowledge that our defense analysts find very interesting. Parker was proud of what humanity was accomplishing, but he was also worried. Reports from Earth indicated growing political opposition to the refugee program. Some humans feared that taking in so many aliens would anger the Galactic Council and bring retaliation against Earth. Representative Amy Johnson had become the strongest voice supporting the refugees in Earth's government. She visited the space station regularly to see the situation firsthand. Today she was touring the processing center, where new arrivals were being prepared for life in human space. The integration programs are impressive, Johnson said as they walked through the facility, but I'm getting a lot of pressure from other representatives to limit the numbers. What kind of pressure? Parker asked. Some people think we're taking unnecessary risks. They point out that we're still a young species in galactic terms. Making enemies of the major powers could be dangerous for humanity's future. Parker stopped walking and looked at Johnson directly. Representative, what do you think we should do? Johnson was quiet for a moment, watching a group of Zenhai children playing with human and Zephyrian youngsters in the station's recreation area. The Zenhai children looked like small versions of their parents, but their play behavior was surprisingly similar to human children. I think, Johnson said finally, that humanity is defining what kind of species we want to be. Are we the kind that turns away people in need because it might be inconvenient? Or are we the kind that helps because it's right? Their conversation was interrupted by alarms sounding throughout the station. Parker's communicator immediately activated with an emergency message. Admiral Parker, this is Captain Morrison on the UES horizon. We have a situation. A massive fleet just jumped into the system. It's not refugees this time. These ships are armed and they're heading straight for Earth. Parker rushed to the command center with Johnson following close behind. The tactical displays showed more than 50 ships moving toward Earth at high speed. The ship designs were familiar to Parker from intelligence reports. They belonged to the Hegemony, the military arm of the Galactic Council. Open a channel to the lead ship, Parker ordered. A stern face appeared on the main screen. The alien had gray skin and cold yellow eyes. Parker recognized the species as Vorlan, one of the Council's most powerful members. I am Commander Zethek of the Hegemony Fleet. You will immediately cease harboring the contaminated species and return them to Council custody for proper disposal. Parker felt anger rising in his chest. Disposal? These are living beings, not garbage. They are genetic contaminants that threaten the purity of civilized space. Your species has violated galactic law by harboring them. Surrender them now or face the consequences. What consequences? Earth will be quarantined from all galactic commerce. Your species will be banned from leaving your solar system. Any humans found in galactic space will be arrested. Parker looked at the tactical display. The Hegemony fleet was powerful, but it was also positioned where Earth's defensive systems could engage them. Humanity had been preparing for this moment since the refugees started arriving. Commander Zethak, I have a message for you from the people of Earth, Parker said calmly. We don't negotiate with bullies and we don't abandon people who need our help. The Vorlon's eyes narrowed. You would risk your entire species for these genetic failures? We would risk our entire species to do what's right, Johnson said, stepping into view of the camera. I speak for Earth's government when I say that these refugees are under our protection. Then you have chosen war, Zethak said, ending the transmission. Parker immediately activated the emergency communication system. All Earth Defense Fleet ships, this is Admiral Parker, battle stations, protect the refugee processing centers and civilian populations. This is not a drill. As alarms sounded throughout human space, Parker watched the refugee families on his station. Zephyrian, Zenhai, Ethereal, and Morphic children were being guided to safety areas by human personnel. These aliens had come to humanity seeking shelter, and now Earth was about to fight a war to protect them. Parker thought about Captain Morrison's original decision to help the first Zephyrian refugees. That simple act of kindness had led to this moment. Now humanity would discover what price they were willing to pay for doing what they believed was right. The hegemony fleet was approaching fast, but Parker felt no regret. Whatever happened next, humanity had chosen to stand with the rejected and persecuted against those who would destroy them. It was a choice that would define humanity's place in the galaxy forever. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Rodriguez watched his mixed squadron prepare for battle. Half the pilots were human, but the other half came from 4 different alien species. 6 months ago, he never could have imagined commanding Zephyrian crystal ships, alongside human fighters or working with Zenhai warriors whose tactical knowledge was beyond anything Earth's military had ever seen. The battle for Earth's freedom was about to begin. Colonel Rodriguez, all squadrons report ready, said his communications officer, Sergeant Danny Walsh. Danny had become famous throughout human space after a video of him playing with Zenhai children went viral. Now he served as a translator between human and alien military units. What's our enemy count? Rodriguez asked. 52 hegemony ships approaching Earth. They'll be in weapons range in 30 minutes. Rodriguez studied his tactical display. The hegemony had more ships, but the defenders had advantages. Earth's orbital defense platforms were powerful, and the refugee species had shared military technology that gave the human fleet new capabilities. Squadron leaders, this is Rodriguez. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth today. We're fighting for every refugee family that trusted us to protect them. Elder Theis's voice came over the communication system from her crystal fighter. Human Colonel, my people are honored to fight beside you. The Zephyrians have not forgotten who offered shelter when all others turned away. War leader Thrax of the Zenhai added his clicking voice to the channel. Human warriors, today we show the galaxy what happens when the rejected unite against their oppressors. The ethereal squadron leader spoke in their musical voice. We who believe in peace must sometimes fight to protect it. We stand with Earth. Rodriguez felt pride swell in his chest. These beings had come to humanity as refugees, broken and homeless. Now they were willing to risk their lives to defend their new home. Captain Nicole Turner led the first wave of fighters toward the hegemony fleet. Her squadron included pilots from all 5 species, flying in formations that no military academy had ever taught. Zephyrian ships could become invisible for short periods. Zenhai fighters moved in swarm patterns that confused enemy targeting systems. Ethereal vessels could absorb and redirect energy weapons. The hegemony commander, Zethak, had expected to fight primitive humans with basic technology. Instead, he faced a unified fleet using tactics and weapons from multiple advanced civilizations. First contact in 30 seconds, Turner reported over the radio. Enemy ships are spreading out to surround us. Don't let them, Rodriguez ordered. Use Formation 7. Formation 7 was something the Zenhai had taught human pilots. Instead of fighting in straight lines like most space navies, the mixed squadrons moved like schools of fish, each pilot covering the others in complex patterns that made them nearly impossible to target effectively. The battle began with brilliant flashes of energy weapons lighting up the darkness of space. Hegemony ships fired their massive guns at what they thought were easy targets, only to find their shots hitting empty space as Zephyrian ships vanished and reappeared behind them. On Earth's largest space station, Admiral Parker coordinated the defense from the command center. Refugee families watched the battle on screens throughout the station, knowing their fate depended on the outcome. "Admiral, the enemy is trying to break through to attack the refugee colonies," reported Major Saichen. "3 hegemony cruisers are heading for New Haven. Redirect Squadron 5 to intercept," Parker ordered, "and activate the planet's surface defenses." New Haven colony had been protected with both human and alien technology. Zephyrian crystal shields could deflect energy weapons. Ethereal power systems provided nearly unlimited energy. When the hegemony ships attacked the colony, they met defenses they had never seen before. War leader Thraxus led a group of Zenhai ground forces defending the colony's main population centers. The Zenhai were natural warriors, but they fought, now to protect the human children who had welcomed them as friends. Their battle tactics were so effective that the attacking hegemony troops were quickly overwhelmed. "Colony defenses holding strong," reported the surface commander. "The refugees are fighting harder than our intelligence suggested they would." This was the hegemony's first mistake. They had thought of the refugees as weak outcasts who would surrender easily. Instead, they found warriors who had everything to fight for. In space, Captain Turner's squadron was winning their battle against a much larger hegemony force. The mixed tactics were working perfectly. Human pilots provided steady leadership while alien squadrons used their special abilities to confuse and defeat enemy ships. "Enemy formation is breaking apart," Turner reported. "They can't adapt to our fighting style." Rodriguez smiled grimly. The refugees hadn't just brought new technology to humanity. They had brought new ways of thinking about problems. Human military doctrine emphasized individual skill and advanced technology. The refugee species taught collaboration, adaptability, and using each member's strengths to help the whole group. Dr. Paul Mitchell watched the battle from Earth's primary research station. He had been studying the technologies shared by the refugee species, and now he saw those technologies being used to defend Earth. Zephyrian stealth systems, Zenhai swarm tactics, ethereal energy management, and morphic adaptive programming had all been combined with human engineering to create weapons and defenses that the hegemony couldn't counter. "Dr. Mitchell, we're getting reports from across the battle zone," said his assistant, Dr. Karen Foster. "Our technological advantages are greater than we expected. The enemy seems completely unprepared for what they're facing." Mitchell nodded. They expected to fight humans using human technology. Instead, they're fighting an alliance that combines the best ideas from 5 different civilizations. The tide of battle was turning. Hegemony ships that had approached Earth confident in their superiority were now retreating in disorder. Commander Zathek's flagship was surrounded by human and refugee squadrons working together with perfect coordination. "Hegemony Commander, this is Admiral Parker," came the broadcast from Earth's command center. "You are defeated. Surrender now, and your crews will be treated with respect." Zethak's face appeared on communication screens throughout the human fleet. The alien commander looked shocked and angry. "This is impossible. You are primitives. How do you possess such advanced capabilities?" "We possess something your hegemony never understood," Parker replied. "We have allies who fight beside us by choice, not subjects who obey through fear." Elder Thess added her voice to the communication. "Commander Zethak, the species you call contaminated have proven today that our differences make us strong, not weak." The hegemony commander's expression changed as he realized what had happened. The refugees he had come to capture were not cowering victims. They were warriors fighting to protect their new home alongside the humans who had welcomed them. "This battle is over," Zethak said finally. "But the Council will not accept this defeat. More fleets will come. Then they'll meet the same welcome this one did," Rodriguez said from his fighter. "Earth doesn't abandon its friends." As the surviving hegemony ships retreated toward the edge of the solar system, celebrations began on human worlds and refugee colonies. The victory had been complete and decisive. More importantly, it had been won through cooperation between species that the galaxy had tried to separate. On New Haven Colony, human and alien families gathered in the main plaza to watch recordings of the battle. Children who had played together now watched their parents fight together. Elder Thys stood with Dr. Phillips and other human leaders, all of them understanding that something historic had happened. Today, Elder Thys said, the rejected became the victorious. Today, humanity showed the galaxy what is possible when different people work together instead of fighting each other. But everyone knew this was only the beginning. The hegemony would return with larger fleets. The Galactic Council would not accept defeat easily. The war between the old galaxy and the new alliance had only just begun. Rodriguez landed his fighter on Earth's main military station and climbed out to cheers. From human and alien ground crews working side by side. Whatever challenges came next, they would face them together. Captain Sci-Fi stood at the edge of the observation deck, watching his homeworld die. Through the clear crystal walls of the space station, he could see the silver swarms moving across the planet's surface like a disease. Where they touched, the green forests and blue oceans turned gray and metallic. His people's ancient cities, built from living crystal that had grown for thousands of years, crumbled into dust that the machines consumed and rebuilt into their own twisted forms. "Sir, the last evacuation ships have cleared the atmosphere," reported his aide, a young officer whose skin flickered with fear patterns that all Zilani recognized. "The Devourers will have complete control of the planet within 6 hours." Sci-Fi nodded, but did not turn away from the window. This was the 15th world they had lost in 2 years. Each time the pattern was the same. The machines would arrive in massive ships that looked like metallic tumors. They would land and immediately begin converting everything organic into raw materials for more machines. Plants, animals, even the soil itself was torn apart at the molecular level and rebuilt into mechanical components. The worst part was how quickly they learned. The first few battles had gone well for the Zilani. Their plasma cannons could destroy the machines, their energy shields could block their attacks. But within hours, the Devourers had adapted. They developed armor that absorbed plasma energy. They created weapons that passed through energy barriers like they were not there. Every victory became a lesson for the enemy. "Have you prepared my statement for the Galactic Council?" Sci-Fi asked. "Yes, sir. The fastest courier ship is ready. To depart. We should reach the Council chambers on Nexus Prime in 3 days." Sci-Fi finally turned from the window. His skin showed the deep blue patterns of determination mixed with the gray of despair. 3 days. By then, how many more worlds will be gone? The journey to Nexus Prime felt longer than usual. Sci-Fi spent most of the time reviewing reports from other species that had encountered the Devourers. The Catherian collective had lost 12 industrial worlds before their fleets retreated behind their energy barriers. The Altarian energy beings had tried to reason with the machines, offering to share knowledge of the universe. The Devourers had responded by developing weapons that could destroy pure energy life forms. Every advanced civilization in the galaxy had tried to fight or negotiate with the machines. All had failed. The Devourers did not want territory or resources in any way the organic species understood. They wanted to convert everything living into more of themselves. They were not invaders. They were a plague. The council chambers on Nexus Prime buzzed with nervous energy when Sci-Fi arrived. Representatives from 47 species filled the massive circular room. Some sat in chairs designed for their body types. Others floated in specialized atmospheric containers. A few existed as pure energy patterns projected into the space. "The situation grows worse by the day," announced Councillor Vrex of the Altarian Collective, his energy form pulsing with agitation. "The Devourers have consumed another 3 systems in the Outer Rim. Their construction capabilities appear to be increasing exponentially. Our combined fleets cannot match their production." "Great," added Ambassador Kithra, her serpentine body coiling with frustration. "For every ship they lose, they build 10 more from the materials of conquered worlds." Sci-Fi stepped forward to the center of the chamber. "Honored delegates, I come before you today, not just as a representative of the Zilani Empire, but as a voice for all organic life in this galaxy. The Devourers are not just another threat to be negotiated with or contained. They are the end of everything we are." He activated a holographic display showing the progression of the Devourer invasion. Red dots marked conquered worlds, spreading like an infection across the star map. In 2 years, they have consumed 93 worlds. Their growth rate increases with each conquest. At current expansion, they will control this entire spiral arm within 5 years. The core worlds will fall within 10. Murmurs of fear rippled through the assembly. Even the most optimistic projections had not been so dire. "What do you propose?" asked the hegemony representative, a crystalline being whose body reflected the chamber's lights in rainbow patterns. "Our greatest scientists have studied their technology. Our most powerful weapons have failed. Our most skilled diplomats cannot even establish communication with them." Zexthai's skin pattern shifted to show resolve. "There is one option we have not considered. One species we have avoided contact with because we deemed them too primitive, too violent, too unpredictable." "You cannot mean the humans, Counselor." Vrex's energy form flickered with shock. "They are barely beyond their home system. Their technology is crude. They still wage wars against each other over basic resources." "Exactly," Zexthai replied. "Every species in this room has spent millennia perfecting the arts of peace, diplomacy, and advanced technology. We solve conflicts through negotiation. We build with harmony in mind. We create beauty and knowledge, but the humans, they have spent their entire history learning how to destroy things that seemed impossible to destroy." Ambassador Kithra's multiple eyes focused on the Zilani captain. "You speak of inviting barbarians to save civilization. I speak of inviting predators to hunt a plague that our civilized methods cannot touch." Zexthai brought up another display, showing human historical data that their deep space probes had gathered. "Look at their record. When faced with extinction-level threats, they do not negotiate or retreat. They adapt, they innovate, and they fight with a desperation that borders on madness." The hologram showed images from human history. Wars fought with primitive weapons that gradually became more and more destructive. Cities rebuilt after devastating attacks. Species-wide cooperation in the face of global threats. It was brutal, chaotic, and somehow effective. "They fight their own kind with nuclear weapons," protested the hegemony delegate. "They poison their own atmosphere to power their machines. They turn their living world into a battlefield for practice. What makes you think they would help us?" "Because," Zexthai said quietly, "they are the only species we have encountered that seems to enjoy fighting impossible odds. Every other race in this galaxy has learned to avoid conflict through superior technology or negotiation. Humans seem to view overwhelming enemy forces as an interesting challenge." The debate continued. For hours, species after species voiced concerns about involving humans in galactic affairs. They were unpredictable. They were violent. They had no respect for established diplomatic protocols. They might be as dangerous as the Devourers themselves. But, as the arguments continued, more reports arrived. 3 more systems had gone dark. The Devourer fleets were accelerating their advance. Time was running out. Finally, Councillor Vrex called for a vote. All those in favor of requesting human military assistance against the Devourer threat indicate now. The vote was close. 24 in favor, 23 against. Fear of extinction had barely overcome fear of the unknown. Zexthai felt no satisfaction in the victory. As he prepared the message that would be sent toward the Sol system, he wondered if they were making a terrible mistake. The humans had shown no interest in galactic affairs. They might refuse to help. Or worse, they might help in ways that the galaxy was not prepared for. But as he looked at the star charts showing the advancing red tide of consumed worlds, he knew there were no other options left. They needed monsters to fight monsters. They needed a species that had not forgotten how to be savage when survival was at stake. The message was simple. A plea for help sent across the void to a species that most of the galaxy preferred to ignore. In it, they offered everything they had. In exchange for salvation, they offered technology, resources, knowledge, territory, anything the humans might want. What they did not realize was that they were about to learn why the rest of the galaxy had been wise to fear the species from the small blue world. They had asked for salvation. They were about to discover that human salvation came with teeth.